Chicano ideas. How's it going, everybody? Let's talk about Chicano. Let's give it up. Let's talk about just sharing basic information altogether. But if you see this list of seven Chicanos. One, Cesar Chavez. Two, Reyes Lopez Tejina. Three, Dr. Hector P. Garcia. Four, Rodolfo Corky Gonzalez. And uh, five, Dolores. Six, Rosalino. So one, two, three, four, five, six main leaders within the Chicano community and the figures, the lead of names. So when you think about these six names, who are our top six Chicano lead figures of today? Who would that be? Who would we and could look up to explain and identify our problems and our culture of who we are and what we want as of people. But the thing is of today, you have different generations, a different point of view. The kids, the Chicanos of today did not grow up within separation. They didn't grow up even within the 90s of me being a kid. And, when I remember as a kid in the 90s, like, oh man, look at that Mexican dude with a black girl, or that black and white guy being together, or look at J-Lo and P. Diddy and Puffy are together. Like, even with them amongst the 90s, uh, of people still culturally and ethnicity being together, it was still a eye looker, a head turn. And the kids of this generation won't understand that. And I barely got to see the little last of that being a kid in the 90s, and you still see some of it within the early 2000s. But the generation of kids today don't understand the uh, the separations, the difference of how it was, because nowadays everybody's whoever they want to be, boy, girl, whoever. You could just be you, be yourself. And culture of of history of your culture, and restoring and keeping your culture and history of what it is, and understanding the traditions. But that's how latex, you got Latino, Hispanic, and latex, and Chicana with an X, and everything for everybody. But let's talk about, you got the Chicano organizations, American GI Reform, the Catholic Por Raza, Freedom Road Socialist Organization, League of United Latin Americans, MECHA, Mexican American Legal Defense and Educational Fund, Raza United Party, and United Farm Workers. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight organizations. And you got Chicano, other Chicano groups, Brown Berets, Chicano Liberation Front, Chicano Gangs, the Liberation Army, Chicano Subcultures, Pachucos. These has anybody? So one thing I could say from reading this Wikipedia is that it has changed throughout the years of me reading information about being Chicano, being Mexican American. More and more information has been put out there. Because if you listen to any of my videos, I talk about how before, when I would look up what is Latino, what is Hispanic, what is Chicano, is there a difference in Latino and Hispanic and Chicano in 2015? Nothing would come up when you would type it in on Google. The lack of the Chicano movement and Chicano cultures and leaders were low, even within 2015 on the internet. Within time, it has changed a lot. Now you can look up what is Latino, what is Hispanic, and it'll come up as Google. What does it mean? As in the bars, they'll be right there. Just think, what is that? Is there a difference? So I find it pretty interesting. Here is just some basic information that you could read about the Chicano movement. Chicano became a reclaimed term in the 1960s and 1970s to express political autonomy, ethnic and cultural solidarity, and a pride in being of indigenous descent, diverging from the assimilation's Mexican American identity. Chicanos or a movement was influenced by the Black Power movement, and both movements held similar objectives of community empowerment and liberation. While calling for black and brown unity, leaders such as Cesar Chavez, Reyes Tejeda, Corky Gonzalez learned strategies of resistance and worked with leaders of the Black Power movement. Chicano organizations like Brown Berets and the Mexican Youth Organization were influenced by the political agenda of black activist organizations such as the Black Panthers. And so when I also, if you remember, the Chicano movement, or like Reyes Tejeda met up with Elijah Muhammad. The kids met up with Martin Luther King. They met up with Louis Farrakhan throughout the time, other Chicanos, to gain and learn strategies to try to build communities for our people the way they did. It says right here, the Chicano movement was not only limited to Mexican American individuals. It said, so it's pretty interesting because I don't remember it bringing up Central Americans and the Chicano movement many years ago, but they are relevant within the Chicano movement. When you see, you could read the conflict between Chicanos and the LAPD helped Mexican Americans develop a new political consciousness that included a greater sense of ethnic solidarity and acknowledgement. While most people of Mexican descent still refused to call themselves Chicanos, many had come to adopt many of political interests in the concept of Chicanismo. Early in the 20th century, Mexican Americans formed organizations to protect themselves. So, they break down everybody who has contributed. These are the main cities, the list of the major towns of the Chicano movement: Albuquerque, Chicago. What is that? Corpus, Dallas, Delano, Denver, El Paso. The Sacramento, San Francisco, Oakland. While Chicanos are not typically covered as heavily in the Chicano movement, well, choosing to add women issues, racial issues, and LGBT issues within the movement that ignored such identities. Come on. No one was talking about LGBTQ in the 1960s and 70s. That shit's hella new. I don't remember reading about that. So, a lot of stuff changed up the way they talk about being Chicano nowadays when you look up on Google and information, because it never was so much information about what is Latino, what is Hispanic, what is Chicano. And because of the generation of difference of generations, old Chicano and Latino, this latex, you know, it's really misunderstood because, and one thing, Chicanos, we do got a different movement from the Mexicanos, and then now we got a separation within the Chicanos, you know, so that's even, more of a generational difference at the same time that has to be figured out and understood and gapped together to not all this latex and adding X's and Chicano means male and female. It doesn't really mean just male, you know. Chicana is like an American, it's a Chicano thing. Just adding an A makes it more feminist, does it? I don't. Ask somebody who really speaks Spanish to see if that makes a difference. Like, you know, Chicano is a Chicano, period. Man or woman, boy or girl, kid or adult, baby or old man. Chicano's a Chicano. No one goes, a Russian doesn't say I'm Russian or, I'm, and a female woman of any other descent doesn't try to change the last letter to make it seem more like this is just for women. That actually created separation when Chicano females added Chicana. When you think about it, I'm not Ukrainian. I'm Ukrainian. I put a means female. Like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm not American. I'm a, if women just changing the last letter wasn't really necessary at the same time. But other than that, Chicanos, this is just sharing information, keeping the Chicano culture and history alive, talking about the leaders, talking about our people, keeping it in the universe. That's all it is. Culture is power, history is knowledge.